Okay, so let's get started. First thing we need to do is to log on to the system. We'll enter our username and password. Once we're inside, let's go over to instrument configuration. In instrument configuration, we'll go ahead and add the instruments we'll be using. We'll be using a THC analyzer, a trace oxygen analyzer, a trace moisture analyzer, and a hydrogen sulfide analyzer. Okay, so for the hydrogen sulfide analyzer, let's go ahead and select multiple ranges, and we'll put two different ranges in here, separated by a comma. We'll apply the settings, click OK, and now we're ready to go over to the configuration of channels. We're going to use 4 channels. I'm going to assign each instrument to its correct channel. Save and close that. And let's go ahead and configure the calibration requirements. For our THC analyzer, we're going to select that a span of 0 is going to be required. We'll save that. And for the other analyzers, we'll enable an external calibration. Of course, the ability to edit the calibration will depend on your administrative rights. Maybe best if it's limited to supervisors with the rights to edit the calibrations. Next, sample info. We're going to add the various matrices that we'll be introducing to our analyzers. We'll start with nitrogen and add argon, and finally we'll add helium. And after we have all of our matrices, we'll go ahead into the profiles. In the sequence configurator, we're going to have 4 positions available, and we'll add the matrices for those 4. And then our sample IDs. Make that correction, and now let's head over to data acquisition. Okay, in data acquisition we see the yellow bar indicating that our calibration is still required. We'll go back to calibration and let's calibrate our THC analyzer first. Let's run the span, and we'll change our parameters to make it as brief as possible for demonstration purposes. Let's enter the serial number for our sample and the concentration, in this case parts per million, and let's run it. Okay, we'll accept that and insert it into the table. And okay, so now it's been inserted. Let's hook up our 0 and we'll rename it and put in the concentration of methane. Alright, and let's go ahead and run the 0. Okay, and we'll populate below, click yes, let's close that. Let's update the other analyzers. Appears to be okay. And we'll update the date on that one to today's date. Okay. All parameters saved, and let's go ahead back to our data acquisition. Okay, we're going to have to take care of those two calibrations that aren't actually in there, but let's go ahead and set up an automated sequence to run. Let's name it, and then we'll set up a sequence on the positions 1 through 4 in any order, separated by a comma. Save that. Alright, and then we'll go back in and select it. Let's shorten our parameters. Okay, and make sure that that is enabled. Let's save it, and we have to go back to our calibration window for a second time. And let's adjust the date on the analyzers so they will show in calibration. Okay, and that should do it. Let's close that, head back over to data acquisition again. Yes, everything's in calibration. We'll check again, and let's go ahead and minimize that window and start the data acquisition. Okay, so we're going to be acquiring signals on all 4 of these instruments for all 4 streams in the order we selected.